This video is going to be a film study look at what Jadeveon Clowney might have left as a 32-year-old edge defender slash outside linebacker just released from the Carolina Panthers, and a projection and commentary on which teams should be looking to pick him up. He only had 5.5 sacks last year compared to what was, really an amazing 2023 campaign in Baltimore. Like I said, still only 32 years old. He was released by the Panthers. I guess Carolina, it sounds like, tried to find a trade partner during or after the draft. It seems like he was due some money, and the Panthers let him go after taking Nick Scourton and Princely Uman in the draft. I get it; they want to get younger and they want to get cheaper. I did not think the 2024 film that I had seen during the season looked great, but I just downloaded 3 new games to get another look later tonight. I wanted to get this reaction video out a little quicker, but this one required significant editing in order to get the film to push through. So here's some suggestions on what I think he does well. First of all, he's relentless and he brings chaos and disrupts plays, whether it's run or pass concepts when he's playing downhill. And when I say downhill, I don't mean just chasing sacks. I mean attacking. Clowney can still make impact plays, in my opinion. Him and Kyle Van Noy in 2023, they were a revelation, a pair of them. They were like wind and fire, just huge pieces of what Mike McDonald was able to accomplish. It's, as a Ravens fan and someone who watched every game that year, it's difficult to forget, and we're not that far separated from that time period at his best, right? He might play high sometimes, but he powers through it, number one. Got all the moves, relentless pursuit of the football. Like I said, this is going to be some film from him with the Ravens in 2023. I'll have a second part once I get through the 2024 film. I think he will have multiple teams lining up for his services. That'll be the issue that we'll talk about, near the end of the video after we get through the film. A couple of run plays here in the beginning just to illustrate what he's capable of and how relentless he is. I know it's the third time that I've used that phrase, but spot shadow down here at the bottom side of the screen. Week 9, I believe, maybe week 10, 2023, against the Seahawks. And he's super aware, which we would expect for a player of his caliber. Look, 3 of the past 4 seasons, I think he's played, quite well. If you want to add the 2024 season in there, in order to make that statement, you got to kind of separate his last 6 games of 2024, more significant statistical production than the first 7, 8, 9, 10 games of the year. But chasing the football down from behind. He's got great range, if you ask me. And when he plays downhill, I know he's playing at an angle there, and he's got a nickel defender outside of him. That's part of the reason why he feels comfortable chasing so much. Very similar dynamic here, week 4, 2023. Against the Browns, option concept. Yes, that's Kareem Hunt going to go away from Clowney. And what I like is it's not that he can't surf or half man, whatever you want to call it, which would be like, sit square here and wait. Close down when the ball is given to the running back, or if the quarterback keeps it, veer back outside on the quarterback's path, try to be a half a man on the inside of the quarterback and a half a man on the trail side, backside with the running back. That's not what he did in 2023. He violently chased the running back downhill, which would be, a keep read, situations like that where he's clearly committing to the running back and nonetheless the quarterback gives it, tells you they're not reading it on that particular play. 32 years old is his range, is his commitment to pursuit going to be any different? I don't think so. I think you get the guy on the field a certain number of plays per game, between 30 and 35 plays. Probably going to have the same guy show up that the Ravens fans saw in Baltimore across 2023. The pursuit, the aggression is all there on film for you to see. I don't think he gets credit, however, for intelligence and awareness that goes along with it. Yeah, he plays like a maniac in terms of physicality, but he knows where to fit and what to get accomplished on a particular stunt, blitz, or coverage. I think he's unselfish when you watch him play as a part of stunts or pass coverage drops into the boundary. Jadeveon Clowney, the guy that I saw in 2023, is a player that pretty much anyone would want on their team. Just a matter of how much depth at edge defender they have in front of him or alongside or parallel to him, and how many snaps you want to get on the field versus the salary that you paid from a front office standpoint. This one's going to be a pick stunt by Patrick Queen, who's got an arrow pointing to him. Clowney is spot shadowed off our right-hand side of the screen. Just the violence, the commitment that he's got to playing football, with a level of physicality that wears on people. And obviously, that Ravens defense in 2023 was, special, number one in the league in so many categories. So Clowney has some great players alongside of him or next to him. But he's a huge part of what Mike McDonald's group was able to get done. And like I said earlier, as a Ravens fan, it's difficult to not remember those games and those moments where he was able to impact and just really be an ass kicker against high level offensive players, but at times just do a great job of outsmarting them. He's very adept if you ask me, at redirecting or adapting during his pass rush. I think you're going to see an example of that. Basically, engaging the tackle. No, it's not Trent Williams out there at left tackle for the 49ers, but redirecting after dislodging or taking the offensive tackle, in this case, off balance. This is a savvy, smart football player. He doesn't get noted for that because of the physicality. I personally think that he's slimmed down some from earlier in his career, but perhaps it's a number change, 24, and the way that defensive players' numbers are uh, handed out now. Things are different. I like how he dislodges the tackle, gets him off balance, essentially upends him from his base, and then goes to the inside. I don't think this is chance, basically, is what I'm trying to offer to you. I think he's got a great awareness in terms of film study and how a tackle is going to react to a particular move, not just over the course of the game, but over the course of a particular play. Meaning, if I attack him in this way, at a particular time am I going to be able to get him off balance, number one, and number two, where would I go thereafter? I think Jadeveon Clowney's got some obvious physical gifts that are still there at age 32, but his awareness, his intelligence, and savvy, I think, goes understated. And the interesting thing about the film that I'm presenting here, and that I have the most familiarity with for Jadeveon Clowney, Baltimore in 2023, he could have had 12 or 13 sacks. There were 3 or 4 situations early in the season where he left sacks out on the field. That's one dynamic that I would be remiss if I don't mention. That's not complimentary, obviously, leaving sacks out on the field. But here's one that is. There's a level of violence to a Jadeveon Clowney hit. And what I mean by that is you see plays live speed and something happens right at the corner of your screen as you're watching. And most time these days, obviously, we've all got big screen TVs. And the camera moves away to maybe track the football or to track the runner or something like that. So the impact occurs maybe at the edge of the screen as there's some blurring maybe in our vision or the way the camera tracks. And you don't know necessarily who it was. I will tell you that watching that team in 2023, there was at least 5 moments that I can remember where that happened. And after about week 3 or 4, my initial thought was that had to be Clowney. The ball was already gone out of the quarterback's hand, or the running back had tried to veer off, in another direction. There was a collision, maybe some bodies end up on the ground, and immediately, once, out of the corner of my eye, I was able to identify that something had happened that was violent. I knew it was Jadeveon Clowney. He just had this ability to wear on people during that season. Now, how the Carolina film looked, I've already admitted to you that upon first impression, when I watched him during the regular season, I didn't think that he looked like the same player, playing with the same type of impact. Again, I didn't watch any film at all of the Carolina Panthers, and there'd be no reason to in the last 6, 7, 8 weeks of the season. But stuff like this happened often. Ball is clearly already out, and call it whatever you want, but he's on his track, and the referees didn't throw a flag here. In fact, Clowney did that probably 5 or 6 times during the course of the season, whereby he was able to impact the quarterback in a way just after the throw that I think kind of wears those guys down somewhat over the course of the game. Also, one thing to mention about him that I recall noting, I keep notes during the season on players to just try to notice patterns. And I can't prove any of this, but one thing that I believe that I noticed, or that I did notice, I'm not sure that I can explain, is he would use a move one week against a particular player 2 or 3 times and then not use it again for 2 or 3 weeks. I believe that Jadeveon Clowney's a guy who has all the moves available to him. Now, are they all A-plus moves? No, but I would say, I would categorize that all of his moves are at least B- to B. And he does have 2 or 3 that would be A-level moves. And against particular players, tackles that may struggle with one move or another, Jadeveon Clowney can go to his 4th, 5th, or 6th move because he's got that ability. His bag is that has depth and it has width, if you ask me. Just a little cross chop on the right tackle, breaking his posture. So cool. Everybody runs that, but then gets his left hand on the elbow here and just ever so briefly, is able to pull that, use that to pull himself through and by the tackle, and then veer back towards the quarterback because there was other pressure on Joe Burrow and finish off the sack. He had 9.5 in 2023, and like I said a couple of times, could have had 3 or 4 more. I particularly like his inside rush moves from the offense's left. So he would be facing the offense's left tackle, using either a swat or some type of move to clear the tackle and get to the B gap, essentially giving himself a direct path to the quarterback that's quick. And I really want to explain this a little further, and then also link this to one of the teams that I think he'd be a great fit for. If you combine him with an outside or top side rush from the defensive end or edge defender on the other side of the field, so facing the offense's right tackle, that inside move by Clowney becomes really dangerous because the outside rush on the opposite side forces the quarterback to step up and essentially run right into Clowney. Alongside of that, you have the pick stunts or TEET stunts with the D tackle that I think really fit perfectly with the Detroit Lions and Aiden Hutchinson on the other side, opposite of Clowney. I think that they could be tremendously effective over the course of the season. In my opinion, I don't think that precludes them necessarily from signing a Zadarius Smith. If I understand the Lions' cap situation correctly, they currently have $42 million in cap space heading into June 1st. Feel free to correct me in the comment section if I have my information wrong or backwards. Here's a direct example of what I mean. Clowney is spot shadowed on our left. He'll be facing the left tackle. And then Van Noy on the opposite side is going to get a bull rush on the right tackle, really walk him back into the quarterback. It's Malik Willis in the game late for the Titans in London in week 6 of 2003. Let's focus on Clowney on our left-hand side of the screen. If the video is a little choppy, my apologies. I'm trying to use like I said, the new player to slow things down so people can see things. Number one, also give me a opportunity to explain things. Just a little two-handed inside swat, and watch how quickly it happens. So I would say this is an example of what I was trying to describe, whereby Clowney has a whole bunch of B to B plus moves, and then he's got some other factors that really, when you combine it into that full meal of what Clowney offers you, it just gives you a guy who can impact the game against the quarterback, against the run as well, like I showed you the first 2 plays. The guy has a whole bunch of really good moves that he can use to attack, and if your offensive tackle has a particular weakness, I think Jadeveon Clowney, even as we head into 2025, still has the ability to take advantage of it consistently. An example of that I'll show against the 49ers in 2023 when he has an advantage with a particular player. He just doesn't miss. Like I said, the game in particular that I'll show is the 49ers. Now, he only had 1 sack and 1 pass defense in that game officially, statistically, but multiple times was part of disrupting the pocket. It was a collective, body of work, don't get me wrong, by the Ravens defense on that night and across the entirety of the season. But he has the ability to disrupt the pocket and in some cases do so using pass rush moves that are borderline disrespectful to the offensive lineman he's facing. Here's an example of what I'm talking about from that 49ers game, his lone sack. In fact, what to describe this move as. It's a combination of a couple of moves. You got a little bit of a, not Euro step, but definitely a push off here with his inside foot. And then as he's pushing off, or actually just before he's pushing off, you can see he's in the process of reaching out and grabbing the left shoulder pad of the left tackle to utilize it, basically as a fulcrum to slow rip underneath. The audacity to do the move, first of all, I think is notable here. The ability to pull it off in an NFL game. It's not that I haven't seen that before in the NFL, but it doesn't happen successfully too often. I think it's a perfect illustration of the fact that when he has the advantage, he knows how to take care of it, and in this case, knows how to do it with a little bit of flavor and a little bit of flash and style. one more play to illustrate what I'm talking about, the force that he plays with, the playmaking ability. As I mentioned earlier, only 5.5 sacks in 2024, but 4.5 sacks, 9 QB hits, 3 PDs in his final 6 games to go along with 19 tackles during that stretch. Certainly looks to me like he's playing well and producing later in the year. I would say he's best utilized in a lower snap count number, somewhere in the 30 to 35 range. But his personality, his competitive nature, he probably wants to be on the field 40, 45, 48 times a game. And look, if a front office spends enough money on him, right, they want to see him on the field, both the front office, the fans, and the coaches for that matter. I wonder about the Ravens' interest level. I mean, we as fans are interested, right, in a reunion there because how special that season was, and he was a huge part of it. Um, because we're unsure of what Baltimore has. Kyle Van Noy, Odafe Owe, and David Ojabo. I mean, unsure of what we have in the future. All three of those guys are off the books in 2026. So guys like Tavius Robinson and Mike Green, they need to be on the field this year so that they're prepared for 2026, right? Additional to that, Adisa Isaac was drafted in round 3. I think the Lions are a different story. It's entirely possible, in my opinion, that Ahmed Hassanin is not ready for a big role, meaning he's not ready for 40, 45 snaps a game. I don't see how you could expect him to be, right, as a 6th-round pick, even though he had tremendous production. And I do like his game and potential. I would certainly like to see him get opportunities to produce this year. If Zadarius Smith and Clowney were able to be packaged with Hutchinson, that'd be a huge improvement over every pass rush group that the Lions have put out on the field since I've really been paying attention to them. You're welcome to let me know what you think of, hey, I want Clowney. Hey, I want Zadarius Smith. I'm looking at it from the perspective of you can get both of them or a Zadarius Smith and a Matthew Judon. That's the best pass rush group that Detroit has had since at least 2021 in my brain, in my knowledge. And I know that, prior to that season, prior to 2023, in fact, the defense wasn't really good. I think that Brad Holmes in the front office should give a serious look at a veteran like this with proven ability to produce, who plays extremely hard. There is just no bullshit in Jadeveon Clowney's game, none whatsoever. He's a pure baller with the intent to disrupt and destroy the other team's run and pass game literally every snap that he's on the field. That's his goal, and that's the way he plays football, at least what I see on film. Final play will be a sack in a home loss to the Cleveland Browns late in the season. He just plays through contact in a way that, look, at times it doesn't look, quote, fundamental. Isn't great sprawl here, the running back trying to cut him, but he gets the job done, and Clowney is a presence. I do think, like I said earlier, that he's playing lighter than he was earlier in his career. I don't know if that means he's lost mass or bulk, all that stuff. I'm not saying that. I just wonder where the weight went to and how many pounds he's down. Is he down 15 pounds? I don't think so. My guess is he's probably down 6, 8 to 10. But I mean, really, could I see that differential in the way that he looks on the field? I'm not so sure. In any case, as a Ravens fan, Ravens content creator, to remember, what he did in 2023 and see other players across the league who weren't playing well in 2023 and had similar seasons to him or even less effective, I think this is a great option for the Detroit Lions. I intentionally tried to produce this video from the standpoint for Ravens fans and Lions fans to watch it because I recognize that both fan bases and probably both front offices are interested. I wonder if there's not going to be a team out there that's willing to let Clowney come in later, or perhaps he doesn't want to commit at the beginning of camp. He's a player, him and Van Noy, who got into the system in Baltimore late in 2023. Of course, he signed in the regular free agency period with Carolina last year. He's got some roots in that area, so I understand the reason for him going back along with the salary structure that was offered. For the Ravens and or the Lions, I think he's a great option out there at edge defender. It makes me wonder if certain teams won't be more forgiving or more lenient in terms of when he would have to report. And also, one factor that I have to mention another time is how many snaps he probably wants to play because of his competitive nature and because of the talent level that he still possesses. In any case, I think that Jadeveon Clowney would be a great option for either team that I'm blessed to cover. I don't think a reunion with Mike McDonald and the Seattle Seahawks is really going to make sense based upon what they've got at the edge defenders position. They traded for DeMarcus Lawrence, someone who's going to split time between playing in a 5 technique 4-eye maybe at times and a 9 technique on pass rush downs. In any case, if you are a Ravens or a Lions fan or any football fan for that matter, and you have some thoughts about the film that I broke down here and what the player might still have in 2023, 25, excuse me, as a 32-year-old edge defender. He turned 32 in February. Feel free to let me know in the comment section what you think of the plays that I selected and the way that I tried to break them down and illustrate his skills to you. And then finally, if you think other Ravens or Lions fans might enjoy this film study look at Jadeveon Clowney, a potential free agent signing for either team, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.